Guys, for you guys that are new, I'm horrible at recording, hitting the record button. So do me a favor, send me a message. I think someone sent me something. Do me a favor every once in a while. So say, hey, are you recording this? So I'm recording it now. Questions in the chat, they come up real quick, and then I'm in the middle of saying something. So I tend to look at them a little bit later, but you can put them in the chat, and we'll go from there. So here we go. The whole goal, right, of wholesaling is to find motivated sellers and get them under contract. Once again, if you guys have been in the course or seen it, we control everything with the contract. The purchase and sales contract or option contract that we have is something that you need to be familiar with. It's not something that you need to read for the very first time when you pull up to a seller's house, okay? You need to go through this thing. You need to be really just fluid with it and know how to explain it. So we're gonna walk ourselves through it. Good evening, everybody who's hopping on the call. We're gonna walk ourselves through it, going through it line by line, and then we're gonna move on and transition to, okay, we got this thing sold. We're gonna go ahead and transition onto assigning that contract. Just like what I was talking about earlier, one of our buyers is looking at a property already. He likes it. If he wants it, we need to then assign that contract. I need you to understand how to explain that to them, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick. And I think we're on this one, okay. Some of you have seen this before, some of you haven't. Some of you haven't seen it in a while, all right? This is our option to purchase real estate property agreement, or some people call it a PSA, a purchase and sales agreement, all right? So you need to really understand what this means. This is our means of control. If we have a seller that agrees to our price, they agree to our price of whatever that is, our maximum allowable offer, okay? Once they sign this, they meet one small part of this agreement, okay? A lot of people are under the misconception that if they are, hold on one second, let me do this real quick. I forgot to put everybody on mute. Cool. Are we on mute? Hold on one second. Couldn't see me. Okay. So that way everybody be muted so we don't cut out. All right. Where was I? Oh, so a lot of people are under the misconception that just getting this contract, just getting that piece of paper signed, right? That makes it a legal contract. That is false, okay? There are a couple of different elements that are a part of a contract that make a contract legally binding, okay? Just because someone signs this, all right, and you sign it, doesn't mean that it is a legal contract. Now, with you knowing that, and knowing why, we're going to talk about why here shortly, with you knowing that, you can use that to your advantage to protect yourself as well, okay? It's something that I like to do a lot of, and I'm going to explain that to you in a minute, okay? So first, up here, up top, tippy top, we got the parties, number one. So the parties as the seller. So this is obviously talking about whoever owns the house, right? Their name is going to be put in here, okay? And you, the wholesaler, are the buyer and or assignee. Make sure you understand the difference between assignee and assignor. Assignee is the person that can give or to receive the rights. The assignor is the person who can grant the rights, okay? Here we have the property. Obviously, you're going to put the address here, okay? 123 Main Street, Atlanta, Georgia, okay? Zip code.
Hey, Tommy.
Yes.
The right side of the contract is blocked out.
Is it?
Yeah.
What do you see there? I don't know why it's blocked out. Let me see. I need to make it smaller. Is that better?
Yeah, that's
what you see now.
All right. Is it too small?
Yeah, blow it up a little bit more.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, it was just like a lag, I think, or something. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Cool. Appreciate you, man. All right. So the PIN, or the parcel ID number, or parcel identification number, that is that long number. Let me see if I can give you an example of a parcel ID number. Because I really want to make sure that everybody understands. Let me see. I'm going to find a contract. So making sure that you understand no, that's a making sure that you understand what you're looking for is super important, because if you don't, then you're going to be filling out numbers. And I actually had where this was absolutely wrong. You absolutely have to make sure that these numbers are correct. Remember, we talked about how to make sure that your contracts are binding, right? If you don't have this correct, it will not be binding. 3613. Okay. So this parcel ID number, this PIN number right here, 14 space, and if you're going to look it up, you need to put that space here, okay? 14 space 022500010769, okay? That is the parcel ID number. That is how the county identifies that particular parcel of land, all right? Very, very important. I've seen sometimes on contracts, actually on contracts that I had some people that I was coaching write up for a real deal. When I went back and double checked their work, these numbers were wrong. Where most of the time you're not going to have a problem with that, because the owner wants to sell the property, right? But if that owner comes around and someone else offered them $10,000 more than what you decided to pay them, and they can find any little loophole to get out of that contract, and this happens to be 768 instead of 769, guess what? They found the loophole, because they're going to say, listen, this parcel ID number doesn't exist, okay? So let's go back to this. Making sure those little things are important. Double, triple check your money. I mean, your money too, but your contracts. Offer. Buyer has the option to buy the property at said price. So let's say we're offering to buy the property at $30,000, okay? The inspection period. Guys, when you're trying to get this inspection period, there are a lot of buyers now that are being burnt by wholesalers. They're being burnt by other investors, right? And there's a lot of buyers that do not want to allow for an inspection period, okay? I'm going to talk to you a little bit. It's going to kind of tie into this whole contract thing. I'm going to talk to you a little bit on ways to get around that and how you can handle that. But for right now, what I want you to try to always get for the most amount of time. Typically, I try to shoot for 10 days, okay? And I'll say something like this. Listen, for this inspection period, I'm going to have to get out my contractor. I'm probably going to have to get out an architect. Might even do a surveyor. That's going to take a little bit of time. But I shouldn't be no longer than 10 days. Should be inspection sooner than 10 days. I'm expecting to be sooner than 10 days. But we just typically put down the inspection period of 10 days. All right, so now into the earnest money. So what I do is I tell them this. I write it down on the contract. I act like they're just going to agree with it. And then I move on to what? The earnest money. What they want to hear about, the earnest money deposit, okay? So the earnest money deposit is, again, something that I'm going to make. It's not really going to be a big deal unless they make it a big deal, okay? And a lot of the time, I will get a earnest money deposit here's one right here. I'll show you this. This is a contract. So you can see this contract was signed by myself and the owner. And that contract, I don't know if you can see in that earnest money deposit, was for $10. Okay? So I'm not telling you stuff that you can't do. I promise you, it's all about how you present it. Okay? So normally I'm trying to get an earnest money deposit of anywhere between $10 to $100. If it's coming out, if I'm going to be paying, and I never pay earnest money, but if you have to pay earnest money, it's going to be between $10 to $100. If you're with a seller that is not trying to hear that, and they're trying to get you to put down $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 earnest money deposit, do not do it. Okay, don't do it. I'm going to show you what you need to do in order to make that deal go through. Do not put down that. You can write down the number. to get the contract signed, but don't put down, not that money does not come out of your pocket. Okay. Make sure that money doesn't come out of your pocket. All right. So provisions. Seller understands that the buyer intentions to purchase the property as an investment, renovate, then sell, or lease to a tenant, or find an end buyer and assign the option agreement for a fee paid by the end buyer. This does not affect the seller's settlement. Does not affect the seller's settlement. Okay, so this one right here, again, it's the confidence in it. It's how you present it. It's how you talk to them. It's what you say, when you say it, the inflection of your voice, the tone. All that is going to display like, this is not a big deal. Listen, I'm just going to read through this stuff real quick. This is how I'll explain it to them, right? All right, Matt. I'm just going to kind of go through things because I really want to make sure that you feel comfortable with this contract. I don't want there to be any hiccups down the road. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop me. But this stuff is basic stuff. This is a contract we've done multiple times. It's all the same stuff. I'm very familiar with it, but I understand this might be new to you. So if you have any questions, just stop me and I'll go ahead and answer your questions. Let me go off and start real quick. The seller understands that the buyer's intention is to purchase the property, right? As an investment, renovate and sell, or lease to a tenant, or we're going to find an end buyer and assign our option agreement, right? We're going to get paid a fee for that. But just listen, that doesn't have to do anything to do with you because the buyer says it right here. The end buyer is going to pay me. So that's not money coming out of your pocket. Just want to make sure you understand that, okay? So you see how I just kind of let them know, because what they want to know is what, hold on. We just agreed upon this price right here. Now what's going on with this? They just want to make sure that they're getting this same money. And normally what I'll do is I will point to this dollar figure so their eyes focus on that dollar figure and not really what I'm saying here. But legally, what I'm showing them on paper is that, hey, I have the right to assign this. I probably will. And that person's going to pay me a fee. Okay. The closing date will be on or before. What I typically do is I try to do 30 to 45 days. The longer you can get your contract, the better it is for you, okay? So you're just gonna pick a date 30 to 45 days out, okay? And obviously, whatever month you're in. The closing attorney or title company being used is, this is where when you get into the further steps in the modules, if you guys haven't gotten there already, you need to kind of start to build a relationship and find a good closing attorney or title company. You would write this information in here. If you don't know it right now, that's okay. That's perfectly fine, because that is typically not something I've never had. Actually, I take it back. I have had a couple people say, "Oh, we really want to use X, Y, and Z attorney." Okay. Then if that's the case, then that's contingent upon them signing this deal, then I'm going to use X, Y, Z attorney. Okay. If that's not a big deal and you don't have a closing attorney yet, just leave this part open and say, listen, the closing attorney, we're going to find someone. Obviously, they're going to be a real attorney, so we shouldn't have an issue with it. So with that, no big deal. Just leave that part open, okay? All right, so this is obviously the address of the closing attorney. Seller understands that the buyer is acting as a principal in the transaction and not working as a licensed realtor or real estate broker representing anyone. If you are not a real estate broker, you still want to say this, but it's not a big deal. Or a real estate agent, it's not a big deal. But I'm a real estate agent, so I have to let them know, listen, I am a real estate agent. If you are a real estate agent, you have to let them know you are a real estate agent, but I am not acting in the capacity of a real estate agent right now. I am acting in the capacity of my own company, which is, in my particular case, Cobb Cash Homes. Whatever your company's name is, that's what you're going to mention to them, okay? All right, and the only reason why that's important is because if you're a realtor, you have to follow different guidelines. And so if you're acting under the real estate broker's license, you have to follow whatever rules are in place by your state and your brokerage, okay? Where did I leave off? Upon buyer's decision to exercise this option, both parties agree to move forward with the necessary standard purchase and sales agreement. Basically, I'm telling them, once you sign this paperwork, you're agreeing that you're going to move forward with this, okay? Seller may not cancel this agreement if they find their own buyer or tenant and decide for any reason not to sell the property. And Mr. Seller, this is really just protection, because from the moment that we sign this agreement, you've already agreed upon the price. You think it's a fair price. I'm going to start to invest not only time but money in getting the pieces moving so we can close in the time that we agreed upon. And that's going to include me getting my contractor out here. That's going to include me getting an appraiser out here. That's going to include me bringing probably an architect or a surveyor. I'm going to have to start investing money, time, and effort. And I just want to make sure that once I invest that money, time, and effort, that you don't back out the deal. Does that make sense? So it makes perfect sense, because if they were in that situation, they could completely understand that. So it's just the way that you word it and bring it back to them. Okay. Where'd I leave off at? Seller agrees to allow buyer to notify other investors that the property is for sale. All right. Again, I am 100% clearly identifying that I can wholesale this thing. I'm not saying wholesale, but that's showing that that's what I can do. Okay. If buyer does not purchase the property, this is one that you really have to kind of lean into a little bit. All right. Listen, Matt, if the buyer, this next one is real simple. If the buyer does not purchase the property or acquire an end buyer to assign this deal, here's the good news. Within 30 days, guess what? Except this property is basically going to go back to you, right? So there's no way I can take this property from you unless you get paid, all right? So why do I say that like that? Because this person obviously wants to sell their property, right? They don't want the property to come back to them. They want to get rid of it, okay? So that could be viewed as a bad thing if you can't get rid of it in 30 days, then you have to give it back to them, right? Because they don't want it. They don't want the property, right? So I try to smooth it over as bringing it and make it nice and easy for them to make it very palatable for them to digest. But I want to give them the benefit of it. Like, listen, you're going to get the property back. So there's no way I can get this property from you except for giving you the money that you deserve for it, right? So just how you bring it to them. Added comments. Seller agrees to allow buyer access to the property via lockbox. This, I can't tell you, man, this is super, super important, all right? This is super important. So many times as wholesalers, we do not get access to the property, and it's a pain in the butt, because eventually you're going to have 5, 10, 20, 40, 100 buyers, right? And you're going to have these buyers, and they're all going to want to come to see your property. Sometimes you'll be able to bring them all together. Sometimes you're not. Not only that, the person that does eventually want to give you your price, they really are going to want to get an architect or a surveyor or contractor inside the house. And as we all know, once you sign this contract, this person is like, hey, Tommy, this problem is now yours. They don't want to keep coming back, or if they do want to keep coming back, they want to do it when it's convenient for them, which is probably not going to match up with you, with your time frame, and definitely not going to match up with your buyer's time frame, okay? So you really need to invest and get a lockbox. You can go to Home Depot and get them for like $30, okay? Really simple lockbox. You put it on there, put it somewhere where it can't be ripped off. I don't even like to put them on the door. I don't like to put them in plain sight, right? So what I would do is I would take that lockbox, and I would end up putting them maybe like on the back side of the house. Put it on the back side of the house, and that way the person or people can't steal it, right? Because there's a lot of people out there, believe it or not, obviously, are going to try to steal your property. All right, so all parties agree that property is being sold as is condition. This is something that you want to highlight. Anything that's a benefit to them, you kind of want to highlight that, right? So listen, we understand, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, that you're giving us this property as is. We're not going to be worrying about contingencies. We're not going to be worrying about if the roof collapse or anything else that goes wrong. We're taking the full brunt of the risk of this, okay? So buyer agrees to pay all closing costs associated with the property sales transaction. Again, this is a benefit to them. So really, really highlight this. We want them to feel like they're winning, which they should feel like they're winning. Seller is responsible to ensure that the title is clear. Any liens or taxes owed will be subtracted from the sales amount listed above. Now, I know we talked about, so let me preface this. During the negotiation process, before we got to this point where we're actually selling the contract, I've already talked to them about liens and taxes. Okay. So that conversation sounds something like, hey, do we have any liens or taxes that we need to be paid off in the course of purchasing this property? Right? They're going to say yes or no. If they say yes, yeah, we have $7,000 worth of liens. Okay. Now I know I need to calculate that into my cost here. Okay. So how do I say this? So the cost of it is going to be absorbed into the price. Does that make sense? So who's really paying for that? It's really them, right? Because I'm just going to decrease my price to take care of those liens. Or if the person, here's where you won't do that. I had a situation where the homeowner was giving us a steal of a deal. Get rid of the property. All we want is $10,000. All we want is $10,000, Tommy. But here's the thing. They had like $20,000, $22,000 in worth of back taxes. But they said they want $10,000 in their pocket. So there's no way at this point where I can say, hey, all the taxes are going to be taken care of right out of your $10,000, because they had $22,000 worth of back taxes. So what we did is we adjusted the price. We adjusted the price because we knew that even with the $22,000 in back taxes plus $10,000 that we were going to pay them, we were at $32,000, that we could still sell the thing for $45,000. Okay, so that's the only time that's not going to happen. But really, it still happens. It's just absorbed into this price. All right, but you just need to be able to, depending on the individual and the situation, you need to be able to explain it to them so they don't get turned off and don't want to sign the contract. All right. The property sale is contingent on satisfactory inspection of the property during the inspection period. You really want to make sure that they understand that this doesn't void this as is. We're not saying this isn't an as is property. We're just saying, hey, in the time frame that me and you already agreed upon, these 10 days up here, right? Once we get through with our inspection, once these 10 days are over with, then that's the point where we are 100% go. We'll probably be almost ready for closing at that point. And I'll kind of highlight that. All right. Again, down here at the bottom, this is really simple. Seller is going to print here and then sign there. And if there's more than one seller, print, sign. And buyer or assignee, you as the wholesaler are going to sign, print here and sign here. And if you have a partner, maybe you two people in your company, or maybe you're the only person who's authorized to sign, you'll be here if you have two people to be there. All right?
Hey, Tommy.
Yes.
Right next to where it says buyer assignee, do I need to sign my personal name or just sign the name of my LLC?
That's a good question. So your company does not have a signature, right? So in my case right here, I would put Cobb Cash Homes and then my name above it, Tommy Holt, right? And then I would sign Tommy Holt because I'm the authorized signer for Cobb Cash Homes.
Got it.
Cool. Good question. All right, let me go back to where I can see everybody all at once. See all these beautiful faces. All right, anybody have any questions on that portion of it? Don't be shy. Nobody, everybody's.
Tommy, it's Nishka.
Yes, Nisha.
Have you ever run into a person who, kind of nitpicks at everything in the contract, or is nervous, like giving you a lot of pushback to sign it?
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Yes. So those type of people are horrible people. No, I'm just playing. They're not horrible people. They're just really interested in knowing what's going on with the company, right? So those type of people, what you just basically do, and I always talk about this, right, is mirror them and then make them feel as comfortable as possible. So people like to deal with people that kind of reflect them, right? Mostly people like that, they're nitpicking because they're really reading and they're going through everything line by line. So if you see that, you're going to see that in the first couple of things in the contract, right? They're going to let you know that that's their type of personality right off the bat. So what you need to do is you really need just to mirror their speed and make sure that instead of flying through it kind of like I was doing, you go through it line by line and look up at them in the eye and say, hey, did you understand that? Are we good with that? Because I really want to make sure that you're comfortable with this. So when you start to do that, right, when you start to show that level of care going through this process, that your sole purpose is to make sure that they understand what's going on, and make sure that they feel comfortable with what's going on, they start to bring their guard down a little bit. All right. And you might just have to do that through the entire contract. And it might take you 30 minutes to get through the contract. But the most important thing is that you get it sold or you get the contract signed.
Okay, so Tommy, furthermore, I just want to know what I lost my train of thought. Okay, all right. So in Florida, they have the real estate as is contract, and it's about 11 pages. I was watching this one guy who said that we should use that preferably. What the question really is, hold on, sweetie, give me a second, babe. Give me a second. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm talking. I'm sorry, Tommy, that's my daughter. But so have you ever run into people basically who have an issue with it only being one page? And what do you think about using the Florida, real estate as is contract, which is on the contrary 11 pages?
Yeah. So I've had people that want to use larger contracts. Most of the time what happens is that most of the contract is non-applicable to what we're doing, and a lot of it gets scratched out. I've had real estate agents that want to use the GAR, which is the GAR up here in Georgia, is the long form for real estate agents. And so most people, though, are okay with the one-page contract. Here's why I like to use a one-page contract. This is why I always do the one-page contract first, because the one-page contract, if you know what you're doing and you build rapport with the person and you let everybody know what's going up front, if you're hiding things, then people get a little weary, right? But if you let people know, listen, sir or ma'am, I'm a business person. I'm here to make money. I want to serve you. I want to help you with this problem as best as possible. But I do need to make money on this thing. That's why this is how I feed my family. And you show them, you let them know, like, yeah, I'm going to make a profit off this. It's not something that's taking them back. That's number one. Number two, with the longer forms, a lot of people, they see these long forms and they get flustered. They get scared. And next thing you know, oh, I need to take this to my lawyer, right? And now that's another hurdle you have to get through. That's another person. Let me tell you something. I've probably within the last 2 months, I've had like 3 lawyers steal deals, right?
Wow.
Because they see the contract and they're like, oh snap, like this guy's about to get this house for, next to nothing. And they call up some of their buddies, and now they have all the information to go around and use. It's really hard for you to prove that because it's not them doing it. They're calling up a friend who knows a friend. It goes around and circumvents you and offers your seller.
And is it because the seller took it to the lawyer?
It's because, well, one of them was because we had to go through the lawyer. All right, one of them was we had to go through the lawyer because it was through a probate offer. And we had to go through the courts, but I could tell it was him because people who came back and bought it, they bought it for $500 more than what we offered. $500 more.
So pitiful.
But yeah, so you just got to be. I try to keep it out of that process. I know I'm a good person. I know I'm not trying to rip them off. I know that I can pay them X amount of dollars, put some money in my pocket, and service my end buyer. They're obviously not thinking about that. They're only thinking about their pockets. But you have to obviously make them understand that, listen, this is a business that everybody's trying to make some money off of, and they have to be okay.
Do you ever file a memorandum?
I've never had to.
No, never? Okay.
Nope. And hopefully I don't ever have to.
Hey, Tommy, quick question.
Yes.
Speaking of lawyers and I guess title companies, who should we be using? Whose lawyer and title company should we be using?
Very, very good question, man. We're in Maryland, which I don't know if Maryland is attorney state or a title state.
I believe it's a title state.
Okay. So really simple, man. Remember last week we were talking about you guys going to RIAs, right? Some of you guys aren't here. It's the first time you're on the call. I need you guys to get a Meetup app and start plugging yourself into RIAs, because now this is the start of your professional real estate career. Seriously. So you're going to go to some of these RIAs, and when you go to these RIAs, you're just going to plug yourself into them. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them that you can provide properties for them. And hey, by the way, we have some properties coming up. Who's a good closing or title company in the area, right? and they're going to give you all the ones that are great, and they're going to give you all the ones that are horrible. Okay. Just get out there into that world, and people will tell you which ones are the good ones or which ones are the bad ones. If you don't want to do that, you can call these title companies and ask them some questions. Hey, have you guys ever done a double closing? Not because I want you to do a double closing, because they should at least know what a double closing is and know how to proceed it. How many of them do you do, right? They say they do a whole bunch of them. That's all they do. And then you probably don't want to deal with them, right? Or at least follow up with the question, do you require wholesalers to do double closings? Because double closings, if you guys don't know what that means, it means that, and I got you participants, people, that's what it said here. You got people that are raising hands, I got you. So if they're doing a double closing, that means they're charging you. You actually have to kind of either buy the house or use transactional funding to purchase the house, which means you're going to pay closing costs, which that's money coming out of your pocket. So I've never had to do a double closing. I try to avoid double closings at all costs, unless it's a large profit spread, right? So these are some of the questions you're going to ask. How do you do assignment contracts? If so, what do you charge for those? Just ask these basic questions and they'll be able to tell which ones. How many of them are you doing? Again, can you refer me to some wholesalers that you've done deals with, right? But I got something coming for you guys. I'm working on something where we're going to pull together some of that information for you. All right. I didn't notice we have a lot of questions here. Hey, Tommy, I have no voice right now. I'm saying, oh, okay. How are you? Welcome. Make sure this call will be posted in the FBU so I can give, yes, you can. There's something blocking the total view of, okay, we got that. Can't see the entire contract, right side is blocked. Thank you. You fill out everything. Crystal said, do you fill out everything on the contract on the spot, or do you have it partially filled out? It's a very good question. I've done both. It's obviously better if you can have it printed. But I've just had some in my folder that I keep with me at all times. And and sometimes I honestly just write it out with pen and paper. So sometimes I fill it right there on the spot. So you said, do you find it best practice to read the contract to the seller or let them read it themselves? No, read it with them. Read it with them. Take that extra time. That's a very good question, Toya. Take that extra time to read it and explain it to them, because you don't want them reading it and interpreting it a different way. Okay? Make sure you do that, right? I attended 2 weeks ago, especially when they started talking about comps and area. Thank you, Taffany. That's awesome. I appreciate that. All right, let me get up. I'm just going to go with the first person I see here. Aaron, what's up, man? Let me unmute you real quick. All right. Aaron, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All
How
right.
you doing?
Cool. I saw that you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to see. I know we spoke the other day. I just wanted to ask the question: how do we qualify our cash buyers?
How do we qualify cash buyers? Can you do me a real quick favor, because I want to get to the assignment question? Don't forget that question. At the end, I'm going to open it up. Okay? All right.
Okay.
Perfect. David, do we have something pertaining to the contract?
Yeah, man. So with the contract, I have like a distressed home in my community, and I was wondering, just to conceptualize it, how would I go about, an assignment contract? Like if I run into the buyer, tomorrow or something, like how do I present that to him?
Got you. That's a very good question. And actually, we're getting ready to go into the assignment portion very next. So you're actually going to see the contract. I want to walk you through it just like I walked through that one.
Mm.
So if I don't answer your question after I go through all that, then hit me up. All right? Because we're actually getting ready to talk about that right now.
Okay.
All right, cool. Let me get Brenda, and then we're going to get, I thought I saw somebody else's hand up, but. All right, Brenda.
Okay, so my question is when you have that scenario, like you said, with the taxes, where they had a lien or tax lien already, do you amend that contract or do you use that same contract?
So if
as is, I guess.
The scenario that I had where they just wanted $10,000, is that what it is?
Right, but it was $22,000 lien that they are taxes that they had outstanding. So in the contract, it says something about liens are as is So did you take that portion of the contract? You take that line out, maybe strike through it, or?
No, it's basically built into the negotiations. Okay. Let me show you here. All right, so we got the whiteboard here, right? So the seller says they want 10K, right? They don't care. They don't care what we sell it for. Say, Tommy, just put $10,000 in my pocket, right? But I know somewhere over here, there's $22,000 in back taxes, okay? So what I did, as we said, listen, there's $22,000 in back taxes. 10 plus 22, let me carry the 1. All right, 32. Is that a good number? Can I put $10,000 onto this property if I got it for 32, right? If I got it for 32, and could I put $10,000 onto it and make some money, right? The answer was yes. Actually, I put $13,000 over top of it and made some money, right? So we ended up selling it to the buyer for 45, okay? So what really happened here? This plus this is 32, okay? But what did they say they wanted in their pocket? They didn't care about anything else unless what? $10,000 went into their pocket, right? So I don't need to amend the contract because when I go to my contract here, let me go back here. What are you guys seeing? Can you guys see the contract, or you still see the whiteboard?
We still see the whiteboard.
Oh, let me stop sharing real quick.
So the contract says that it's $10,000 that you're buying it for, so it's built in that way. Is what you're saying?
So what I'm saying is that up here, I'm going to put $32,000. And then down here, it says any liens or taxes owed will be subtracted from the sales amount listed above. So what does that mean? If this says 32, right, they're going to subtract that 22, which is going to leave them with what they wanted, the 10. So I don't have to amend this contract at all. I just need to know that up front so I can put that into this. And that's only if your buyer says, hey, just give me blank amount. I'll sell it as long as I get $5,000. I'll sell it as long as I get $7,000. Once you hear that, you say, okay, hold on. I need to make sure that I don't have $70,000 worth of back taxes because I need to take account. You understand? Good question.
Okay. Okay.
All right, cool. All right, let me do this because I think we'll probably be asking questions here, which I love. Let me get to, let me move on to the assignment, and then at the end, we'll open the floor for all the questions. All right, so back to this. All right. This is in the way. All right. This is on my screen, but I can't see it here. Okay, so here we go. So this is David, this is what you were talking about, right? This is the agreement to assign contract, all right? A lot of this stuff we kind of went over. This is subject property. Make sure you copy over that legal description or parcel ID. The legal description is different than the parcel ID. The legal description is ridiculously long. Don't use it. Just use the parcel ID, okay? Mm-hmm. This agreement is made between the assignor and the assignee. The assignor, you are the assignor. You are the person who is the grantor. You are going to give, you're the giver, even though you don't spell it that way, all right? You're giving this person the right to purchase this contract. So do not mix that up. It's the other way around. If you put the wrong one, then you're screwed, all right? So you, the wholesaler, you are going to put your name here, and the assignee is the person who is receiving the benefit of your hard-earned work, all right? So they're going to receive the equitable rights to this contract. You are assigning your equitable rights to this contract, okay? Whereas, here's where it gets a little tricky. Whereas, let's just say, David, since you were the one who brought this up, whereas David Alson, hopefully I said your last name right, David Alson, the buyer, entered into a purchase and sales agreement with who? The person that is selling the property. This is the person that's on that first contract, all right? The owner of the house for the purchase of subject property. And whereas buyer, which is again you, David, wishes to assign its rights, interests, and obligations in the purchase and sale agreement, it is hereby agreed between the assignor, which is you / buyer, right? And the assignee. So now it's switched over back to the end investor, okay? So let me recap this real quick. If David is my wholesaler and I am the person who's going to be fixing and flipping this property, David's name is here. I don't know how that happens. I don't know how you draw on that. Someone drawing on my screen. David's name is going to be here. My name's going to be here. David's name's going to be here. The seller's name is going to be here. And then we're going to go back and forth here on this next section, just between David and myself, the assignee and the assignor and assignee, okay? So here's where it gets a little confusing. People get confused sometimes. I don't know how to get this off the screen. But assignee, okay? So let's just say from now on, I am the person who's fixing and flipping. The assignee right here, right, shall provide the assignor, David is the wholesaler, a non-refundable assignment fee of whatever it is. Now remember before, let's say your seller, right? Let's say your seller says, you know what, I want $1,000 earnest money. And remember how I told you guys before, there's a way to get around that, right? So that $1,000 of my earnest money, David, is not coming out your pocket. Please don't pay that money, okay? Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and put probably $1,500 to a $2,000 earnest money deposit. Why? Because I know $1,000 has to go to that other person's money. But look at the rest of the statement here. The assignment fee of $2,000 in this particular case at closing with a non-refundable earnest money deposit of, I'm sorry, my bad, I took that back. Assignment fee of whatever your assignment fee is. So let's say you want to make $10,000. Okay, you're going to put in $10,000 here. Okay, this is why I've learned this lesson the hard way, where people, number one, you don't qualify your buyers, which we're going to talk about later. But then your buyer gets hit in the face with, oh my gosh, I'm paying $10,000 more than what this property is worth. And some, believe it or not, some fix and flippers, some investors do not value the work that you're going to put in. Okay, they don't value the the work that the wholesaler goes in and does. I'm telling them here that you are going to pay me $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for this property. Okay, if you do what I tell you to when we start qualifying your buyers, they won't have an issue with it. Okay, so I'm going to tell them here my assignment fee of $15,000 at closing with a non-refundable earnest money deposit of $2,000, which will be held in escrow. The earnest money deposit is non-refundable and owed to the assignor. David, who's the assignor?
Assignor, that's us.
That's us, the wholesaler. That's right.
Yeah.
Unless all measures have been exhausted to provide a marketable title on above referenced property. What basically saying is the only way you can keep that earnest money deposit is if we cannot provide them with an equitable title. So the title has liens on it. We can't find all the people to sign off on it. They cannot now, we can't in truth and honesty, hold on to that earnest money deposit because they can't do anything with it. Okay.
Right.
The remaining amount of blanks, all you're going to do is take out the difference of whatever this earnest money deposit is. Okay. The remaining amount of blank shall be placed in escrow with the agreed closing attorney by 9 a.m. on the closing day. This amount will complete the full balance at close. I added this in because I got tired of sitting down at a closing that was supposed to start at 11 o'clock and the buyer still has to go to the bank because they didn't wire the money yet, okay? And then you're waiting around for another 3 hours for the wire to hit, okay? So I'm letting them know, listen, you need to send this money. Don't plan to send this money the day of. Probably plan to do it the day before because banks typically open at 9 a.m. So you really need to have this done the day before. So at 9 a.m., this money is sitting in the lawyer or the title company's escrow account and can be funded, all right?
Right.
Assignee's inspection period shall expire upon execution of this assignment. Assignee accepts all terms and conditions of the contract for sale and purchase between buyer and seller in its entirety, okay? So this is why, two things here. Two things are really important about this. The execution of this assignment contract, right? The execution of this assignment, right? What does that mean? What does that mean? That means that once they sign, because remember, there's a couple of things that have to happen to make a contract valid. You have to have a meeting of the minds. They have to have, we have to have, what's the legal term? It's basically, I mean, two parties have to come together man, I can't think of the word. They are capable of making rational decisions. So obviously I can't have a minor sign a contract. I also can't have someone who maybe has some mental issues sign a contract, right? We have to have people that are capable of
competent.
Good. What's the word? Well, somebody corrected me already, but we have to have people that are capable of making these type of decisions, okay? And they have to be of age. And one of the main things is that we have to have some type of consideration made. Normally, consideration is in the form of money, okay? So what I'm saying is that once he hands over that assignment fee, this is a binding agreement, okay? And therefore, that contract has been executed, and therefore your inspection period has expired, which means you don't have an inspection period anymore, okay? I want them to do that because I want them to bring all of their contractors, whoever they need to make a buying decision. I want them to come and make a buying decision, and so they're not going home and their wife or their girlfriend or their boyfriend or husband talks them out of it. Okay, once they sign this and they send over that check, it's a wrap. All right. So a signing accepts all terms and conditions. Here's the reason why I tell them here how much I'm making, because if they are going to agree to my original purchase and sales agreement that I made between the buyer, right, which in this case is David, and the seller, whoever owns that house, who here, by show of hands, is going to sign a contract saying you agreed to a contract that you never saw before? No one.
Ever.
Right? So they're going to see how much you got it under contract for anyway. So you might as well tell them here how much you're going to make off it. This is why I don't care by telling them, but this is why you have to qualify your buyers as well. Additional terms and conditions of this assignment are as follows. This assignment contract is non-assignable without the express written consent of the assignor. This is big. Why? Because you will have people daisy chaining. Everybody heard of the word daisy chaining, right? So where wholesalers go ahead and just, I tack on 5,000, then Brenda tacks on 5,000, then Toya tacks on 5,000, and David finally talks on 5,000. Next thing you know, the contract is worthless, right? No one can do that. So you got to make sure that this is in here. No changes to the purchase contract can't be made without the written consent of the buyer. Disclosures and acknowledgments, assigners and his assigner and affiliated associates make no warranty expressed or implied regarding inspection reports or other reports provided to the assignee by assigner or third parties concerning this property. Basically, this means do your own diligence. Do your own due diligence, all right? Assignee acknowledges they are conducting a transaction dealing directly with assignor for purchase of subject property. Assignee is not relying upon or being represented by a real estate brokerage in this transaction, okay? I want to make sure that they understand that. They're basically going to sign it. The assignee is going to sign this, and print, and assignor and print, okay? And there's nothing on that page. All right. Any questions on this stuff? Any questions on this? David, did I answer your question?
Yeah, let's pretty much answer it up. Seeing what to say while you're doing a contract with a seller. So
cool. This is a lot more. I got you, Lorenz. I got you. So this is a lot. You get, especially if you're dealing with buyers that have kind of been through this process before. They're going to go through it, make sure that it's nothing crazy in there. They might say something about this number 2 right here. Inspection period shall expire upon execution of this assignment. And you just explain this. Hey, listen, if you're not ready to make a buying decision, no problem. No problem. When you're ready, once you get your contractor out here and you feel 100% comfortable, let me know and we'll go ahead and sign the contract then. But I cannot, this is what they do. I've been through this time and time again. That's why I've changed this. They'll go ahead and do this. They'll sign it. They'll lock up your contract. Okay. And then you'll have a 10-day inspection period, or I would suggest for them, don't give them a 10-day inspection. You get a 10-day inspection period, but they don't get a 10-day inspection period. Give them like a 3-day inspection period or a 5-day inspection period. But even 3 or 5 days is a long time.
Right.
You go ahead and they go ahead and they sign it. They lock up your property for 5 days. And then on the 5th day, they write you a letter of cancellation and they don't do it. So I tell them, listen, I want to kind of light a fire underneath their butt and say, listen, when you're ready to make a buying decision, let me know. But until then, I can't stop marketing the property. And most of them understand that. Okay. So that's really the only time things kind of come up here. That and whether or not if you have a crazy high earnest money deposit. Right. All right. Let me stop sharing real quick so I can see people again. Lorenz, I know that you had your hand up.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. So in section 1, assignee shall provide a signer a non-refundable assignment fee of blank and closing. You explained all that in the whole section 1, but that's the only part of that whole contract that I kind of didn't grasp. Could we like maybe break that down into layman's terms a little simpler? I just don't understand the earnest money deposit part.
Okay.
I also have a copy up on my screen as well, so I can see what you're doing. Oh.
Okay, cool. So assignee, so again, I am the person who's fixing and flipping, right? I'm the assignee.
Mm-hmm.
You are the assignor. You're the wholesaler,
Okay.
right? I'm saying a non-refundable assignment fee of, let's just say, Lorenz, you want to make $10,000.
Okay.
So you're going to put your $10,000 in here. We're saying, listen, at closing, once you give me this $10,000, it is non-refundable.
Okay.
You're not getting this money back. This money belongs to Lorenz right now. That's it. It's a wrap. All right. At closing with a non-refundable, and then it says at closing with a non-refundable earnest money deposit of blank amount of dollars. So let's just say in this particular case, we used the amount of $2,000. Okay. So what that earnest money does, earnest money basically is just saying, hey, I'm serious about buying this property. I'm not playing around, right? Someone who's playing around is kind of wants you to tie up your property, especially when they know that, so especially when you get down to number 2, when as soon as they sign this and write you that check or write your closing attorney the check for $2,000, that it's either they lost that $2,000 or they're going to buy the property, right? So this is here to deter people who just want to play around and lock your property up without actually buying it. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
So they're going to put their earnest money deposit, which then will be held in escrow. Now this part right here. So let's just say the total price of the house is $32,000, right? To purchase the property. That's what the contract is for. Okay. That's including your wholesaling fee. So let's say you got it, for 22. Okay. So you got under contract for 22, you put $10,000 onto it. So I'm buying it from you for 32. You're going to give $2,000 as earnest money. That's going to go to the closing attorney before you actually go to the closing table. Okay. Now, once we go to the closing table, what's the remaining balance? You already gave $2,000 and sitting in escrow, right? What's the remaining balance off of 32? 30, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to have the remaining balance of 30 shall be placed in escrow with the agreed closing attorney by 9 a.m. on the closing day. So the earnest money deposit goes before the closing day because we need to lock them in and make it a binding agreement by them providing some type of consideration, which in this case is money. Is that clear?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Perfect. All right, let me go back so I can see everybody again. All right, we good? We good?
Yeah.
We good? All right. I see people.
Tommy.
Who's that?
It's Kamar.
Oh, what's up? I don't see where you're at.
I'm on the phone. You don't see me. You probably don't see me on the video.
Okay. Yeah.
But that what you were just talking about on the assignment contract. Do you handle that earnest money deposit at the title company?
So, do you handle it? No, you can get the check right then and there because this is how you build some trust. Don't say, listen, don't write this check to me. Don't write it out to Tommy Holt or Comcast Homes. Write it to the closing attorney. All right. And these are buyers. They understand this process, right? Or at least they should, right? They're going to write that check to the closing attorney. All right. And the closing attorney is going to have a certain escrow account. And it normally says such and such XYZ closing attorney escrow account. Okay. So they're going to write it to the closing account. So closing attorney, excuse me. So that money is going to go to a trusted source. This is an attorney who passed the bar, who has a practice, who spent a lot more money than $2,000 to get their practice up and running. They're not going to blow that for $2,000. But you, the wholesaler, who they never met before, or is the first time they met, they ain't gonna really, they're gonna feel the type of way of writing you a $2,000 check personally. But that's when you step into it and saying, don't write me the check, write it to the closing attorney. And so once you get that check, it's your responsibility to deliver that check and both of those contracts, the first contract with the seller and the contract with your buyer, to the closing attorney with those checks, or with that check. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Before I open it up just to regular questions, let me go to the chat. I see people got their hands up. I got you guys. Let me just go to the chat. Why the parcel like? Let me try to figure out where I left off at. How do you find what liens? Okay, man, there's a lot of questions here. How do we qualify our cash buyers? I'm just gonna go right down here in the list. We got a lot of questions here. I'm gonna try to answer these as quickly as possible so we can get to some live questions as well. How do we qualify our cash buyers? So a couple of different questions you need to ask. And number one, after building a little bit of rapport, ask them, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, how many properties have you bought in the last 12 months? And then just let them talk, right? See how many properties they actually bought. Write the addresses down, especially if you're over the phone with them, right? I try to do it in person, but sometimes it's easier to do it over the phone. Write the properties down and then check them. Hey, how quickly, when you purchase your properties, what's the average time that it takes for you to move? Right? That's another good question. One of the big questions is, and some of you might have heard this before, but Miss Buyer, a lot of times, a lot of times we make, $5,000, $10,000 in profit. But every once in a while, Mrs. Buyer, every once in a while, we really hit a home run. So if I happen to get a property under contract for $1, but it meets all your criteria, like you're going to make the profit margin that me and you talk about and make that profit margin, and I sell it to you and I'm going to make $60,000, is that a problem for you? And you just watch and listen how they respond. Because before those questions, and I should have told you this before some of those questions, what you're going to ask them is, what are their criteria? Okay. What are they looking for? What areas of the city or wherever they're looking at? What type of houses do they like? 3 1s, 2 1s? They like townhomes, whatever they prefer. What is their renovation budgets? All those things, right? What's their profit margin that they look? Typically, there's about 30%. Most times, if you can find a 30% gross profit margin, like we show in the course, most of the time you can find a buyer for that. So if you ask them, hey, most of the time we got about a 30% profit margin. Is that a good profit margin for you? They say yes, right? So now when you go back to that last question that I just said, hey, Mrs. Buyer, if we could provide you with that 30% profit margin, but I found a property and I got that property for $1 and I sold it to you for $60,000, and I was going to make $60,000, but you were going to get your 30% profit margin. Is that a problem for you? And you ask them. And so that's a very, very good qualifying question, because if they have a problem with that, if they're making the money that they desire to make, but they're mad because you get that one home run that happens like once in a lifetime, right? Or maybe not once in a lifetime, but every once in a while, then you don't want to deal with that buyer. They're going to be counting your pockets, because I guarantee you, when they sell that house for more than what they thought they were going to sell it, they're not going to call you back and say, hey, we sold the property and we made $30,000 more than what we thought. Here's $10,000. They're not going to do that to you. So don't do that to them as well. All right. So those are the main ones I would qualify questions. Do you usually sign the contract in person or virtually, like DocuSign, which is better? Pros and cons. Sellers, most of the time I do in person, because I'm literally at their house and we're talking about it, and I try to get the contract signed right then and there. So we're there right in person. Buyers, when I meet up, I need to pick up that check. They're probably going to sign it right there. But if some cases, some of the buyers are out of state. So of course, then we're going to do that. But I'd let them know, listen, that this property is not coming off the market until you wire over. If you're out of the country or out of the state, you still need to wire over that earnest money deposit to my closing attorney to make this agreement. All right.
Like, where from? Let me see.
Let me mute you guys. Hold on one second. Do you let sellers set their earnest amount, or do you give them an amount? I always try to dictate as much as possible. Guys, remember this, wholesaling is all about control, all right? You try to control as much as possible. If they're really, really adamant about it, then you can go ahead and try to work with them. But if they say something that's crazy, like they want a $5,000 earnest money deposit, you got to talk them down, because you're going to scare off a lot of buyers. Do you know anybody? Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me try to get through these real quick. Do you know anybody in Florida, preferably Miami Broward, who uses one-page contracts? Yeah, actually I do. His name is Mario Ferguson. He's someone who went through this course. But if that's a big problem, then just go with the contracts that they have. How do you find out what liens are on the property? You can go through your just go through your tax assessor's office. There's certain things that it's just going to be too difficult for you to do. Like, that's why a lawyer is there. But the basic searches, you can go look. You can look and see if there's any liens recorded against the deed or against the property. If you go to the tax assessor's office, a lot of times it'll show you that the taxes haven't been paid in X amount of years, and it'll list it there. So what if you include liens, taxes, etc. in the price, and then the seller doesn't pay those things with the money earned in the sale? Then you just then you didn't negotiate that correctly. Then the seller has to pay. So in that particular case where she wanted $10,000 and that $22,000 in back taxes, I'm telling the seller, listen, in order for you to buy this contract, you're going to pay me $45,000. If you don't like it, go kick rocks. I'll go find another seller, right? So they have to pay it. They have to pay it, and they can't not pay it and not have and then get the property. Okay. Why the parcel ID versus the physical address? You're going to use both. You're going to use the physical address. You're going to use 123 Main Street, and then you're also going to use a parcel ID. You definitely have to use. You definitely want to use both, because the physical address is going to be easy for you to easy for you to track. Okay, this is because hopefully one day you're going to have multiple houses that you're wholesaling. You're going to look at, okay, this is 123 Main Street. This is 321 Main Street. If you look at parcel IDs, you're going to mix yourselves up. So use both. Do you look for all liens before writing up the contract, or just redo the contract when something else comes up? I try to do a soft look, but again, that's what abstractors and your title company or attorneys are going to be paid for. They're going to go a lot deeper and find things that you can't find. Now, if it's something that makes it a no deal, say, hey, Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer, this came across, you got a $17,000 lien on your property that you didn't tell me about. That changes everything, because we can't do anything with this property. We're going to have to renegotiate on the price. And most of the time they're going to do it because they can't go anywhere else. Thanks, Bill. Hey, Tommy, anyone that can help. When I tried printing out the assignment contract within this course, I was able to do it, not being able to download it. The rest of the documents were downloadable. I had a problem. I'll try to fix that, Brent. I'll try to take a look at that, make sure we get that knocked out. Does it matter if your buyer is borrowing from a bank? Doesn't matter if you're borrowing from a bank. It only matters. All right, well, if you're in some states I have to be careful. In some states, if you're wholesaling, it cannot come through traditional funding. Like, you can't come through like bank funding. Okay, it's illegal. Okay, so you want to stay away from that really as much as possible. Number one, most of the time, it's going to take way too long for them to close. And our biggest thing, our biggest asset is time. That seller is trading time for money, right? They could probably sell that property for a little bit more, but it might be on the market for another 9 months. It might be on the market for another 3 years before they get the price that they really want. So they're trading time for money. All right. What do you normally charge for EMD? Do you just go with 10% of the purchase price? No, it's not 10% of the purchase price. I normally somewhere do between $1,000 to $2,000. Because high earnest money deposits, even when the people have money, it just says like, I don't know, something doesn't seem right about it, and it just makes it seem a little weird. All right. So the earnest money deposit goes with the wholesaler if it doesn't go through, or the seller. It depends on how you write it up. If you write it up like I show you, you'll have some money and they will have some money. What about the buyer's deposit? That is the earnest money deposit that the buyer is going to put the earnest money deposit in. So to be clear, this one contract for the buyers, this one contract for the buyer and seller. No, these are two separate contracts. The first contract for the sellers we went to was the option to purchase and sale agreement. And then this is the assignment contract for the buyer. So you must have a closing attorney when we start out. When you start, you don't need to have a closing attorney because you don't even have a deal yet. I guarantee you, once you get a deal, you'll find a closing attorney real quick. Someone said prop stream. I'm new here. Where do I get the contracts? In Atlanta, do you use the attorney or title? So Atlanta, Georgia, you're gonna use a closing attorney, and the contracts are in that first portion of the course, which is the downloads. How do I find out I'm taking traditional funds? How do I find out if taking traditional funds, money from the bank, is illegal in my state? Because it's so varies from state to state, I would probably number one, go to a RIA. Someone's done it before, they'll know there. And you can also call a closing attorney or title company. Where do we get the contract? I think I just said that. It's in the first part of the group, the very first portion of the course, right before module 1. I think we learned something very cool. Awesome. All right. So now I'm gonna open up. Now I've gone through all the chats. I'm closing the chat, and people who had their hands up for a while, I've seen. I'm gonna just happen to start right here in the top right-hand screen of my corner screen of my screen here, and that is Brenda. Brenda, go ahead real quick. What's up?
Hey. Okay, so the inspection period isn't in that contract. How did we set that?
The inspection period in what contract? The one with the seller?
No, the one with the buyer or the assigner.
Remember what I said there is that they don't have an inspection period. I'm taking that inspection period away from them. Okay. Eddie Charger says, how do I put my hand up? I still don't know, Eddie. I haven't been on that side. Someone can help you with that. Maybe Bill, can you help him how to put his hand up?
Participants.
Is that where it's at?
Participants.
Go to participants. And yeah, do that. Yeah, that's right. You did it too. So let me show you real quick. Again, so this portion right here, assignee inspection period shall expire upon execution of this assignment. So what that means, you need to understand what execution of a contract means. Execution means that two people came together that are of sound mind and body, that understand the contract, right? That are of age. They both signed, right? And consideration was made. So it doesn't say all that in this, but this word right here, the legal jargon, that infers all that information.
Right,
Okay?
but you said you usually give them about 3 days, 3 to 5 days or so. So that's prior to them signing the contract.
So I used to give them 3 to 5 days. I no longer do that anymore because they would tie it up for 3 to 5 days and be like, I don't want that one.
Okay.
And they stopped marketing it to some other people. So now I tell them, don't sign this contract unless you're ready to buy. I'm telling you right here, as soon as you sign this thing and you send me over that Earnest money, then I'll stop marketing it. But until then, I'm gonna keep marketing this thing until this is signed and I have that money in the escrow.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not giving the buyers any inspection period. Let me go back to where I can see you guys. All right, Bill, what's going on, man?
You hear me, Tommy?
Yeah, now I got you.
I have this deal I've been working on for a minute. I probably talked to you about it before, where the lady, she lives out of town. She's in Florida. She's basically, it's a tax delinquency. She's 3 years behind. And I got the title search done. Everything came back. She had 2 outstanding mortgage liens on it. Well, not even liens. It just showed up on them because one was a discharge where City Financial actually had transferred over to like another financial institution, Bayview.
Okay.
And, she had got like a down payment assistance through a program 12 years ago when she first purchased a home. However, that program doesn't exist anymore. Like the company dissolved.
Gotcha.
So when I talked to the title company, she was telling me I need to get a discharge letter for all of them. So I'm explaining to her, like, we can't get a discharge for them because it doesn't exist anymore.
It don't exist anymore. Yeah.
So her husband had 2 judgments on there. I got the payouts for those 2 judgments, and I got a letter from City Financial basically saying, listen, they no longer have ownership or rights to the to the initial financing.
City Financial has that. Said that letter.
That letter over to me.
Okay.
So long to the short is this one particular thing, this down payment assistance she got that doesn't exist anymore. So I called another title company. This guy was like, listen, man, I can over insure it. He was like, because it's been over 12 years, we should be able to over insure it. So I'm not, what does he mean when he's saying he can over insure it? Because when I called my title company that I deal with, she was like, well, no, I'm not going to over insure it. I could call another company that do like deep searches and they can still.
So they're talking about the title and company insurance. So basically we're just saying, listen, I can over insure this in case something comes back that we're gonna pay more than what they would normally pay for the house. So let's just say the whole point of title insurance, right, is to protect the buyer of the home in case it comes up, they can't get the property anymore. So they spend, like we're talking about, $32,000 or $45,000 for this house, right? They spend their $45,000 and then something comes up where now they're fixed it and they can't even sell the property anymore, right? So they're out of all that money, or they think they're all out of the money, but hey, we got title insurance, so let's get that money. What he's saying is that, man, we say there was like $17,000 in whatever was paid or whatever, right?
Back taxes right now are at $22,000 now.
Okay, but that should be the back taxes. They should be able to insure, so they can see that, right? They can see that, and that's going to get wiped out once the buyer buys it. But
exactly.
what he's saying is that this mystery thing, this, what did you call it, was a
it's called
down payment assessment.
Right.
The down payment assessment. How much was that?
It was $6,000.
$6,000. Okay. What he's saying is that, listen, even though we can't figure out who this company is, and we understand the process, we understand that this place no longer exists. Let's just say for the sake of math, after it's fixed up, they put $100,000 into this property, right? And then somehow, some way, that mysterious company comes back into existence and wants to set claim to it. They're saying, listen, normally you would only be insured for $100,000, but we're going to add the extra $6,000 on it. We're going to over-insure it, so just in case they come back, they're still covered. You understand?
Now, my buyer will be responsible for the that basically that insurance.
Your buyer is going to pay, yeah, because your buyer doesn't have to pay, title insurance. They don't have to. It's stupid if they don't, but they don't have to. So yeah.
Well, I guess it should show up on the title work. Okay. All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get to let me see, this is in the way here. Lisa, I got you, Matt. I got you, Charles. We're gonna get to you. Man, my voice sounds horrible. I've been talking all day.
Hey, so my question was kind of born out of Brenda's question about the inspection period for the buyer. You don't hear me?
No, I got you. I know Brenda over here spawning off questions.
Oh, that was my mommy's name. Anywho, so at what point, as you're courting your buyers, when are they looking at the property? I mean, I understand your point that you do not allow them to have an inspection period to kind of, hold you hostage, so to speak, and then they agree, then they decide not to buy it. So when are you releasing the address to them and have them, do their inspection? No one's buying anything without looking at it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and are you having them sign like a non-compete or something agreement?
No. So here's
Okay.
the process. It's a very good question. So here's the process, right? Once I have that property under control, under contract, right, with the seller, then I can tell them, here's the address, because now I have equitable rights into it. Now they have to go through me to get to that property. So now they have the time to go look for it. Because remember, on my contract, I'm trying to get 10 days, right?
Yes.
10 days on my contract for inspection period, right? During that time frame, I'm marketing to my buyers. I'm trying to get them out there as quickly as possible. Okay. So at that point, and in the contract, I'm gonna show you, you're protected either way. But because I don't know if you remember that last part on the first contract, it says if I don't find an end buyer by X amount of days, it goes back to
yes.
you get it either way. But the end buyer, they're going to come take a look at the property and they're going to say, yeah, I need to get my contractor out here. I say, okay, no problem. And they're going to ask you, well, can we sign the contract now? I said, you can sign the contract, but just understand that you have to sign the contract and give me
some money.
Yeah.
Okay.
marketing it. I don't mind you signing the contract, right? Because I know the contract is not valid unless some type of consideration has been made. Okay. So I don't mind you signing the contract, but I'm still going to market this thing. I'm just going to let you know, Lisa, I'm still marketing this to Brandon. He's coming here in about an hour. So if you want this property, you need to make sure you have all your ducks in a row and make sure you're ready to make a buying decision. And you can preface that by letting them know. I would say, Lisa, hey, before you come to the property, I don't know if you want to get your contractor to come on out there, because the way we do this is that, we don't have a contingency period. We let people come out. They'll come out and they'll see the property. They can bring their contractors. They can bring their architects, whoever they need to bring to make if you want to bring your mama, right? Make a buying decision, because we don't stop marketing the property until a contract is signed and we have some type of, earnest
Consideration.
money.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Got it.
No problem. All right. Let me get to Charles, and then I got you next, Matt, and I think someone else got their hand up. Go ahead, my man.
Okay, so I pulled a pre-foreclosure list for Baton Rouge. I found an owner. It's a couple. They're getting divorced, and they own 6 units. The wife kind of walked away from the properties 2 years ago, and the husband, he's kind of at the point where he just wants to get rid of it. They're not trying to make any money. The thing is, the husband doesn't know how much is left on the home. He doesn't know how much, where he's at in the foreclosure process. Okay. And that it takes about 4 months. And then when I asked him to, okay, can you have a business partner in the area? Because I'm doing this virtually. I have a business partner who would look at the property. How do we get in? He hasn't spoken with his property manager in a while. How can I find out how much is owed on those units in order to go ahead and move forward my offer? I know they would sell. They rent for about $1,200 a month a piece. So
right now, the owners or the people who are in control of the property, they just want to get rid of it. They don't care.
Yes.
Okay.
What's ever left on the loan, including what they owe the bank.
And so you're trying to figure out what is left on the mortgage, not the taxes.
Yes.
Okay. So the people who are now in control of the property need to give you power to speak, permission to speak with the mortgage company, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the people who are still alive, obviously, because if they're dead and talking to you, then that's another whole initiative. People who are now the custodians of that property, because it's still in the probate process, right? So they are now probably there's a custodian of the property, right?
No, it's pre-foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure.
Oh, pre-foreclosure. Okay, I thought you said probate. I'm sorry. All right, so pre-foreclosure. So those people that are obviously in pre-foreclosure are the owners. You can do one or two things. They can either write you a letter or write a letter to their mortgage company and saying, hey, that Charles Walker now has authority to speak on my behalf about this. You're probably still going to get some slack about it. The mortgage companies are really funny about doing that, but you can eventually get that done. Easiest way of doing it is just be there on the freeway with them. They want to sell it, right? Hey, this is Tommy at 123 Main Street. I got my man Charles. He's on there. He's going to be helping me out selling this property. I'm giving Charles permission to be on this phone call. What information do you need to verify who I am? And they'll say, okay, name, social security number, blah, 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 account number, all that good stuff. Like, all right, cool. So how much is owed on the property? And the mortgage company is going to be able to tell you. You understand?
Yes.
So you just cut right to the chase. So you can do it one of two ways. You can try to do it all by yourself, but they're going to have to give you permission. You're going to have to, it's going to be, especially in something where it's pre-foreclosure. I don't know how quickly it's coming up to be sold, but you might want to hurry up and get it done. So if you need to really hurry up, then you need to just get them on the phone, have them verify while you're on the phone, and you can get that information.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, cool. I'm going to go with Matt, and then my man, Eddie. Eddie is over here getting jealous. I got you, Eddie. All right.
Hey, thanks, Tommy. Just a quick question. And it's like, I guess it's the logistics of the earnest money deposit I'm trying to figure out here.
Yeah.
So how do we, I guess, set the expectation for the buyer, let's say, or for the seller rather? Let's say I'm in the seller's house. We came to an agreement, and they want, let's say, $500 in earnest money deposit. Mm-hmm. Before they sign the agreement, the purchase agreement, would they want the earnest money deposit as soon as they sign it? And how do I set the expectation of that they'll get the money in the delayed?
The second part, that's really good. The second part is what you really want to do. You want to set the expectation, right? Listen, Matt, you know, buying a house is not just like buying a car. You know, you buy a car, you put some money down, and you walk off with the lot on the. You drive off the lot with the car. Buying a house, as you know, because you've bought a house before, obviously, is not the same. It takes some time. So what I need to do, I need to take this earnest money deposit, this $10, and I'll laugh about that, right? Or in your case, you said 500. I'll use your example, 500. This $500. Really, what we're just using this $500 for is that we have to show that this is a legal contract. We just have to give them a little bit of money to solidify the contract. But I'm gonna take this $500 and I'm gonna put it into an escrow account with the closing attorney. And this closing attorney is gonna hold this money until it's time for the rest of that house to be purchased or be funded. Okay. Now, what are you gonna do? And as soon as you walk out that door, you got this contract. I'm calling up buyers. I've already taken my photos. I know this is a good deal, right? Because you're not putting this under contract unless it's a good deal. And your buyers, what are you telling your buyers? Hey, this is a $1,500 earnest money deposit. So who's putting up the money?
The buyer, essentially.
Aha. Right? Yes.
So you're just doing it in a quick enough fashion in order to get the earnest money deposit and give it to the seller all in one fashion. Okay.
I got 10 days. Right?
Okay, that works. Thanks.
Cool. Eddie, let me go to Eddie real quick. Eddie's getting mad. You should see all the mean things he's saying to me. Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, I got all the keyboard courage, man. I was like, yo, if he ignored me one more time, I just finally learned how to raise my hand and everything. No, definitely great training and teaching tonight. I just had a question. So after I get it on the contract and I'm ready to go, what's the process? When I mean process, disposition process, as far as how do I market it out to all my cash buyers that I may have? Like what are those steps? What are those tools that we're using? So let's say, boom, I got it on the contract. I took the pictures. I have, conversation with the seller, let them know that, hey, I'm gonna bring some people by and et cetera, et cetera. What's the next steps so I know how to market my deal to as many cash buyers or relatives as possible?
What I like the most, let me see here. What I like the most is being able to text my buyers. Okay. So that's why I'm big on, I tell people to get that Google Photos, or some people use other things to take the photo, to put their photos and create the photos to be, put them in a link. Some people go as far as to making their own YouTube channel and make it private, make sure it's not just open to everybody, because then people can, try to steal your deals behind your back. Right. But I do all that, and I like to send it to text. Why? Because text, even if you get a text from a random number that you don't know, you still open it up, right? Most people do. So I like to send text. I think it's, Slick Text is something that can do mass text. You don't want to put everybody in one text message. Don't do that, because that's annoying. I've been in those where you got like 20 different people. I did get some good buyers off of it, because then I saw who were the buyers, but don't put everybody into one text, right? But that's one. The other one, it's just old-fashioned email. A lot of investors, they want stuff emailed.
Hold on, sorry, Tommy. Before you go on to the next one, what do you mean when you say don't put everyone in one text?
So you know how, like, if you text, like, I got your name in my phone, right? I got Liban's name in my phone, and I got Daphne's name, and I got Kiana's name, and I put all you guys in one group text. You know what I'm saying? You ever get like the happy birthday text between you and your family, and everybody's in one text, right? And they're always talking throughout the thing, and no, I don't want it. Yeah, I want it, right? Then all those people are being bothered, right? There's software out there. There's another one called Easy Text, where you can input everybody and say, I want all these people to get this message. I want all these people to be aware of it, but they get them individually, but you only have to send it out one time. You understand? So if you were to text me this property, you put my number in, and then you text me. If you want to text Liban, you would put his number in, and you would text him. You would have to just keep doing that. What if you have 50 buyers? You got to do that 50 times. You use Easy Text. You can put the message in there one time, and then put their names in there, and then it will send it out to them automatically. right, individually. So they're not all grouped in one text message. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or am I?
Yep, I got you. Loud and clear.
Cool. And then email. Email is just another way. But man, always make sure you guys have your photos. If you do the photos, I got so many compliments from, especially from new buyers, that people that haven't done deals with me, and then they see the way we put the photos, the address. Like I'll do a video of the neighborhood, especially if it's a nice neighborhood, you want to showcase that, right? Put that stuff together, make it a nice clean package, and you'll be good to go. Lee Ban, I see that you got your hand up. Let me unmute you. I got you next, Lorenz. Lee Ban, what's up, fam? Yep.
What's up, man? So, so I was cold calling today, so I spoke to a potential seller of the tax list, and he just doesn't want to sell. He's like, he just wants to give it away to the county, and I was trying to give him an offer, but he didn't accept anything.
Tell him my name is County.
So how would you go around that for a seller that doesn't want to sell? He just gave up on the property. Like no price would make him happy.
The seller, I mean, it's his property, right? I mean, the way we make money is through motivated sellers. If he's not motivated, right? If he's just like, yeah, I don't care, and let the county keep it, there's really not too much you can do because the county's gonna win. Yeah. If he's like, listen, man, you give him whatever your number is, you get you that maximum number. Don't go chasing the deal. Try to make it work. Somebody's off the mute, but it's killing me right now. But yeah, just don't go chasing the deal. If he can't do it, he can't do it. You know.
All right. Yeah, it just baffled me that someone say no to free money.
Yeah, but
yeah. All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Sorry about that, but we'll get to the next one. All right, Lorenz.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Cam. How you doing?
Pretty good. So thanks for providing all the value that you do through the Facebook and through the course and everything like that. I just wanted to say appreciate that. So this is the first time I'm being on one of these calls. So basically, I've been doing research on wholesale real estate for probably about 3 months now, but I did it unaware that I actually was in wholesale real estate a couple years ago. Regardless, I've been doing a lot of research, and it just seems like data is king. So I've gone onto my county websites and I've looked, and there's auction.com, there's Zillow. If you run all the numbers and you're doing your comparables right, it just seems as long as the data is king, you can make a deal out of anything, correct?
Yeah, and then the more you're in it, the more you'll find different types of buyers. You'll find different ways of getting property. Like a week ago or so, we talked about what do we do with the leads that don't work at wholesaling or flipping leads. What do we do with those leads? Because that's data that's valuable, right? How do we dispose of those properties? How can we use those properties? Who can use those properties? I was talking with one of my one-on-one students, and we were talking about how these big hedge fund companies, how they will buy property where a regular fix and flipper wants 30% profit, they'll buy it with 10% profit, right? Because they're playing with $1 billion. So a billion with a B. So when they make 10% on $1 billion, that's $100 million, they're okay with that, right? So finding different buyers can help you dispose of properties that you wouldn't normally be able to dispose of. So data is definitely king, for sure.
All right. So kind of like doing all of this, I mean, so far basically I mean, a lot of this business is just helping people. You find a property, you find out what the problem is, you assess the problem, and you fix it, and you go from there. Rather it be taxes, mortgages, whether they're behind, you just fix it, and then you take the commission of what you feel that was worth, and you move forward from there, and you rinse and repeat this process. Now I've been doing this, and I'm a contractor as a living. I build Starbucks for a living. Like that's my highest client is Starbucks.
Nice.
And I went to the contracting company that I'm like doing business with, and they want to get into real estate. And I ran some numbers by them, and they want to start getting into this. My uncle also works for the United States Postal Service, and he gave me a vacant list on all vacant properties in the state of Colorado. So I have all this data. I have tons of data. And then I have a construction company that has like multiple properties and all this stuff. I don't I used to build websites. Like I build website development. Like that's what I did. I build websites for a living through CSS and like HTML, just basic websites. I don't know what to do at this point. I've now acquired so much information, and now I'm just in analysis paralysis, and I have all these opportunities, and I don't know how to kind of move forward.
All right, so we're gonna kill this right here because you have a very, very hot list. That vacancy list. So this is what you're gonna do. This is what you're gonna do.
I know it's gold too. I don't want to fuck it up.
Well, I got you. This is what you're gonna do. You are going to break down that list. How many houses are on that vacant list?
423.
423. You said 423? Okay, cool. So we need to get that list skip traced, and that's how often is that updated?
Every 6 to 12 months, depending on when they just pull. I don't know. That's what he said. He says it's regenerated every 6 months, I would assume.
Okay, cool. So you're going to get that list skip traced, okay? And you're going to put that into a RVM type of machine, okay? So a cold calling machine. So I have something called Cold Calling Plus. Let me see here. I have something called Cold Calling Plus. You can use REI Rail.
Yeah, that's through Max, right? That's Max's company.
Yep, you can use REI Rail. Let me see.
I don't know. I know that I'm only 23, but I just know the more strategic I play the game right now, the better I'm going to be off when I'm 30.
Yep, you're right.
And I have valuable information, and I just want to move it in the right way.
So we're about to do that right now. I'm going to set you up with this plan, right? So you get a Cold Calling Plus plan, or you get a REI Rail, whatever you want to do, right? Here's mine. You got 6,000. You pay by the minute, right? And you're going to create a voicemail, and your voicemail is going to say, "Hey, my name is Lorenz, and you know what, man? I'm sorry if this call is out of the blue, but I was in the neighborhood and I saw your property at 123 Main Street, and I'm sorry, that's a specific property. I'm in the area, and I'm a local real estate investor, and we're looking to buy 1 or 2 properties. I don't even know if this is the right person, but we were in your neighborhood and we saw your property, and we would love to give you a cash offer. If you can just give me a phone call back. Again, I don't know if this is the right person, and if it's not, please forgive me. But if it is, and you're interested in selling your property and getting a cash offer, can you leave your name and your property address, and I'll be sure to call you back in about 15 minutes." Right? And this is a very generic, because you're not giving a property address because you don't know who you're talking, right? Because you're going to put all those 423 names in there. What's going to happen is this
back to me, right? I'm just seeing what comes back to
me. Yep, you're going to see what's coming back to you. But you're going to do is you're going to turn your phone off, or you're going to turn the system off so it goes straight to voicemail, right? Because you want low-hanging fruit. Those 423 are golden, but you want to grab the low-hanging fruit first. The people who leave a voicemail, guys, understand this. The person who leaves a voicemail off of a pre-recorded message, they are desperate. They want to sell their property. Okay? Yeah. So get those people first. Get some money in your pocket first. Okay? Those people, they're going to call you, going to leave a message, and they're going to say, "Yeah, my property on Main Street, I don't know how you got my number, but yeah, I want to sell it. Give me a phone call back." And you're going to get a lot of people that just hang up on you. You're going to get some people that are going to take the time actually to leave a voicemail and curse you out. Right? Don't worry about them. Just use the ones that actually want to sell. The remaining 423, or the remaining people that are still there, those are still good leads. We just need to verify, number one, are they still vacant? And number two, you need to get you already have their number, you need to start making personal phone calls, because they might still want to sell, right? They might still want to sell, but they just heard a pre-recorded message and they didn't even listen to the message and they just hung it up.
Yeah.
Okay. But listen, you only got 423. That's not a lot. Right. So let's just think about it like this. If you did 40 calls a day, you'd be done in a little over 10 days, right? 10 and a half days or whatever, right? You did 20 calls a day, you'd be done in about 22 days. So you can do that. Each call is most people are not even going to pick up, right? You just got to keep a system to go through it. Don't take all of that data and just let it paralyze you. You need to come up with a plan that you can make in bite-sized amounts. So if 40 is too much, then go to 20. If 20 is too much for you to do in a day, go to 10, but do something, right? This part right here is easy because all you got to do is once you put this thing in here, Once you put this thing in here, you change your database, you upload a list to call, you put it in there, and then you hit send, and it does the calling for you, right? And you get the low-hanging fruit, which is going to boost your confidence. Number one, it's going to put some money in your pocket, right? And then number two, the other ones that are remaining, then you just call them personally, right? But now you got some deals going on. You feel confident. You got some stuff happening. You're going on appointments, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Okay, cool. Sweet. I'm stoked about it, dude. To be honest,
Power controls is not yet supported.
I don't know. My Google, that's a little scary. My Google voice just started talking to me for no reason. But yeah, man, knock that out, man. Knock that out. That's a golden list. That's a very good list. If you guys, if anybody on this call can get a hold of that list, that vacancy list from the post office, I don't think they give them out like that anymore. You kind of have to know somebody.
Yeah.
Slip the mailman or mail lady, like a 20 or something. You know what I'm saying? And try to get that list. But yeah, good. That's good stuff, man. Make sure you take action though.
Oh, definitely. Like, I mean, this stuff excites me. This turned from a hobby to a passion, and now I just gotta take action. At the end of the day, there is nothing else but taking action.
Yep. Let me just put this in the chat. I'm putting that website in there, Cold Calling
Plus.
And you can use REI Rail .com is actually better, because when you use REI Rail and they call you back, you can actually see who's calling you. With Cold Calling Plus, when they call me back, I have no idea who's calling, but I've spent so much money on minutes. I got to use the minutes up. So that's why I use that. All right, David, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up in a little bit because I got to get to another one. Trying to unmute you, David. There we go. You're good now.
Okay, so to piggyback off of the phone calling thing, do you feel like it's worth it to hire? I was researching about like overseas assistants, like administrative assistants that you could hire in like the Philippines to work like $4 an hour, like $2 an hour. What are your thoughts on those, like those methods?
I'm just now getting to the point where I'm thinking about doing that. So my suggestion is this, man. You gotta like get your hands dirty and do it first. This is a valuable skill. It's going to help you in negotiations. It's going to help you deal with adversity. It's going to help you deal with people cursing you out, right? I would highly suggest that you first do a couple hundred cold calls before you decide to go ahead and hire a VA. That doesn't have to take long, right? Let's say 200 cold calls, 300 cold calls, somewhere around there. I mean, you can get that done in 3 weeks, easy. Right? It depends on, or less, really depends on how much time you want to put into it.
Understandable. You want to be able to, tell them what you did hands-on before you tell them what to do.
You're gonna give them a heads up of what to expect. You're also going to find out what works in your market, right? So being able to relate to people in the Atlanta market is different than maybe someone in New York, right? And so, but you're going to be asking your people from a whole different country, different culture to relate with some people. And so maybe they tell them, hey, when we had the Super Bowl here in Atlanta, right? And we got the Super Bowl coming up. We're going to be calling a lot of people around the Super Bowl team or Super Bowl time. Maybe they want to lighten things up by talking about the Super Bowl, right? You got to understand, they're in the Philippines. The Super Bowl, everybody knows about it. A lot of people know about it, but it's probably not as important, right? But building rapport, when we go through the negotiation process, building rapport is probably the number one thing when it comes to negotiations. I really believe it is the number one thing, right? The better the rapport you build with someone, I can't tell you time and time again, people say, man, I don't know what it is, man. The other people offer me a couple $1,000s more, but I just like you. I trust you. I want to deal with you, right? It's because you build that rapport. So you need to be able to show people how to do that and teach people how to do that as well. It's more than just them calling some people. They're going to blow a lot of deals for you if you think that's all it is. So get your hands dirty a little bit and do that cold calling first, and then outsource that.
Sounds good.
Cool, man. All right. when doing RVM, do I need to get another number to serve as a voicemail? You can use CallRail, or you can use Google Voice if you don't want to pay for it. You can use Google Voice and just have it go straight to your Google Voice number. And if you just see it's a Google Voice number, let it go to voicemail, because especially if you're going to call a whole bunch of numbers, you can get an influx in calls. You just really want to weed out the ones who are cursing you out, not spend any time with you, with the ones that are leaving their addresses. All right. Shadrick said, I'm sorry, man, I missed that. I have a property that's currently being used as an Airbnb. Income statement provided, cash flow providing $11,1300 each month. Asking for $799. How should I approach this deal? $400,000 remaining on the mortgage, 1 city code violation, 1,000 in tax liens. So, evaluating an Airbnb deal. Okay, I'm kind of going through something similar with a rooming house that I'm selling. Okay, the problem is that you can't really use that income, right? You have to use it as what the house was intended to use, okay? Unless you find a specific investor that knows Airbnbs and that's what they're looking for. Then you're going to show them that, and they're going to see the value of that. But when you're doing your assessment, you're trying to find out what the ARV is, and you're trying to find out what you should be paying for it. You have to go off what its intended use. So I have these 2 duplexes that I have under contract that are used as rooming houses. It's a total of 16 bedrooms, because that's how you determine whether a rooming house is going to be profitable or not, by how many bedrooms you have, right? And so, but there are 2 duplexes. Each duplex has 4 bedrooms. It's a 4-3, each duplex. So each duplex, one has a 4-3. Apartment A has 4-3, and apartment B is a 4-3. Total of 8 rooms per duplex, and there's 2 of them for a total of 16 rooms. So the rental money for the rental homes, for the rooming house, is a lot more than if they would have rented as it was initially intended for, right? So on one hand, I'm saying, hey, this thing should get like about $8,000 per month. But as a duplex, apartment A is only going to rent out for about $1,400. Apartment B is going to rent out for $1,400. That's $2,800. But as a rooming house, it'll make $8,000. So I have to either get the price low enough so someone wants to buy it as a duplex, or market it to people who like buying rooming houses and taking on the challenge of a rooming house, because that's completely different than the challenge of just a regular rental. So my suggestion to you is to do 2 things to try to get rid of that property, Shadrach, is to run the numbers off of how it was initially used. Initially used. I keep saying intentionally. Initially used. Running numbers off how it was initially supposed to be used, and see if those numbers make sense, and then everything else is the exact same. But because it's also being used as an Airbnb, again, look for people who buy Airbnbs. You can go on the Airbnb app and you can see who's listing Airbnbs. Find those people who are listing Airbnbs, especially the Superhost. And now they just came out with that Airbnb Plus, right? If you'll see Airbnb Plus, what that basically means is Airbnb makes money off of you renting Airbnbs. So if Lisa is an Airbnb star, like if she is just killing it and she has good reviews, well, guess what? And her place always gets rented. Guess what? They're going to put her listing on the front page as Airbnb Plus, right? It's like in pinkish letters or whatever, right? Those are people that are taking Airbnb serious. That's just not someone who just wants to rent out their house every once in a while. They're taking their Airbnb serious, and some of those people are going to be running them as full-fledged businesses where they have multiple Airbnbs. That probably would be somebody that I want to contact. And you can just do it right through the Airbnb app. You can send them a message and say, hey, I'm not looking to buy or rent your Airbnb now, but I do have this unit, and give out the specs in the text message. You can literally text them right there through the app. Okay, so we just have to start thinking creative on how we're going to find these people that want our properties. All right. Hope that helped you out, Cedric. Okay. I'm tired. You guys been rocking out. It's been an hour. Jeez almighty, hour and 51 minutes. We're going to take a long time. So we're going to wrap this one up. I appreciate everybody's participation and questions, and hopefully I answered everybody's stuff. So don't forget the next one. The next one is on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Also, David, who was on here, which I don't believe he's on here now because I know he has his call around 8 o'clock. David does, that comes with this course. David, also known as Sleep is for Suckers, is his Instagram. He flies all over the country teaching people how to be better businessmen, businesswomen, better at life. Yeah, he's dope. So he does a call at 8:15 in the morning. You guys automatically get access to that for the deal that me and him worked out. And so that will come out in the Facebook group. If you guys please make sure that you add yourself or go into the Facebook group, just follow the instructions that come into that came in the email, where you need to request entrance into the E2E Wholesaling Edition Facebook group. Answer the 3 questions, and then I'll let you in. Do not like send that to someone. Don't send it to your cousin, right? If little Tay is in the course, I'm cool. But if he not, right, don't send it to him, because then I go through them, and that's what takes so long, because I get all these requests, and I'm like, man, I don't think this person's in the course. So I literally have to go through them. So it's a little time consuming, but we'll get that wrapped up, and I'll put that link in the Facebook group. Any meetups? Yes, March 6th. March 6th, it's free. I couldn't get in. I guess you're talking about the Facebook group. That's because I didn't let you in yet. So once I go through tonight, and I'll go through and I'll start accepting people. But yes, meetups March 6th here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's actually in Chamblee, 3400 West Hospital Avenue. And I'll start marketing that on Instagram as well. Hope you guys have a blessed night, man. I appreciate it. I love you all, man. Have a good one. Be safe. Let's go make some money. Let's go make some shmoneys. All right, peace.